I heard a good deal of misplaced complacency in what he had to say. Winter hasn't begun in earnest, but there are already signs of A&Es and ambulance services stretched to the limit. Last week, a record number of people waited more than 4 hours in A&E and on trolleys. Ambulance response times are getting worse across England, with some 999 calls taking hours. Overnight, news has emerged of an 82-year-old man who waited more than 3 hours for his ambulance to arrive at his nursing home and then waited a further 19 hours on a trolley in a corridor. This is appalling, and there are fears that things will get worse when the House is in recess. Given this, it should not be for me to drag him here today to explain what he is doing to prevent a full winter crisis in the NHS. The question he didn't answer, but must answer today, is this: does he have a winter plan? If he does, will he therefore publish it? People working in the NHS need to know what is in it. He seems to suggest that he's got one, Mr. Speaker, but let me quote what Dr. Mark Porter, chair of the BMA, thinks. He criticises what he calls the total failure by government to come up with a meaningful plan. Well, they're going to have to reassure Dr. Porter, aren't they? He mentions money, but isn't it the case that £300 million of it was only allocated in November? Does he really think that gave the service enough time to plan? Dr. Clifford Mann, chair of the College of Emergency Medicine, doesn't think so. He says, had these funds been used back in summer and early autumn, we might have more resilience in the system now. Dr. Mann also questions where this money has gone, saying very little has been seen by frontline A&E staff, and instead quotes, a lot of it has gone to shoring up balance sheets in acute trusts. Is that true? Will the Secretary of State provide a full breakdown of how this money was allocated and spent to date? Were any conditions attached? I'm sure he will claim the money has been used properly, but if that is the case, why is the NHS already under so much pressure? Over the break, honourable members will want to monitor the situation in their local hospitals very closely. But we learned that from tomorrow, the publication of data on A&E will be suspended for 3 weeks over the crucial Christmas period. Mr. Speaker, that is simply unacceptable. Given we know the figures are still being collected, there is absolutely no reason why it should not be published. The Secretary of State puts a premium on transparency, rightly. So will he today order an end to this news blackout and instruct NHS England to maintain weekly A&E reports? I have visited a number of acute trusts in recent days, and they all say that the pressure in A&E is critically linked to the severe shortage of places in nursing and residential homes and cuts to social care. The sad truth is that there are today a record number of older people trapped in hospital, well enough to go home, but with no support to do so. When is this government going to wake up to the very real crisis in social care and the fact that it is dragging down the NHS? Finally, Mr. Speaker, no one can predict what this winter will hold, but the warning signs are there and the NHS needs to plan for all eventualities. So what discussions has he held with other government departments, and does the government have a wider contingency plan for the NHS this winter? In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, this is a serious situation. If patients and staff are to have confidence, they need better answers than they have had so far. I hope the Secretary of State will start providing them now.